Welcome to Reality with Kiki. I'm your host, Kiki, and on this channel, we discuss reality TV, celebrity gossip, and viral topics. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you like our content. You can also follow us on our Facebook page. A link will be in the description box below, and we also have it linked in our bio. All right, so Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. So we start this episode off with Whitney calling all of the ladies. She's inviting them to do some snow tubing. Whatever. Pretty boring. So we progress in the episode, and Jenny and Dewey are sitting down at a restaurant. She's like, she doesn't really want to talk to him right now, but he invited her out, so she's like, yeah, because she wants the oysters and the martinis. We know that their last conversation was about having more children. Jenny doesn't want to have more children because she's already had many miscarriages. But Dewey's like, oh, well, maybe we could get a sister wife. That made her upset. So they sit down, and she is immediately like, so, I'm busy with our three kids. Is another kid something that you really want? And I'm like, girl, this conversation upsets you every time you have you talk about it. So why would you bring it up at this point in time, especially if you're still upset about the last time? So he's like, oh, do you really want to do this right now? She's like, yeah. So he's like, yeah, I would like another child. And she's like, okay, but what about this sister wife thing? Like, why do you want another sister wife? What do you want her for? And all these questions. And he's just like, I don't know. And I'm just like, well, if you don't know, then why would you suggest something like that? So, she goes on like, would I be interviewing her as well? And he was talking about how like polygamy is not something that is uncommon, like across the world, even like within their culture. His grandfather was a polygamist, and they got along just fine, is what he said. But I'm like, how do you truly and really know that? Because I had a grandfather who was a polygamist as well. And, obviously this was not in the United States, but it didn't work out well. It really did not. So, like, people say it, like, people go along to get along, but it doesn't mean that things are working out well. You do different things for survival. Um, there's different reasons as to why people may go into it, but in my opinion, ultimately, for the most part, people are not happy. But you know what? Like, I don't judge, you do what you do. So my question is just like, okay, you saying no to adoption. Jenny really doesn't want to consider a sister wife, so why don't they just get a surrogate? I believe they have the money to be able to pay for a surrogate. So Dewey is just like, having a big family is something that he wants, and he feels like this emptiness would be filled if he were to have many more children. And Jenny is like, she noticed that he brings it up every time around March, and I guess that's around the time that they had the stillborn with their daughter. So she just was talking to him like, I don't feel like you've really dealt with that. And I know that he faced way more trauma than she did. She said that she was completely out and he saw everything. And he admitted that like that is something that he's trying to replace, because it's like he's like, I can never get her back, but he wants to replace that void with more kids. So Jenny is just like, I don't understand why you want to sacrifice our relationship to get the things that you want. And he's just like, I don't want to lose you, but and I do understand that, I do have a problem. So she's just like, I want to ask you to like go and seek therapy, go and seek professional help, because I'm not sure how to help you navigate through that. And you never fully dealt with it. So he said that he would consider it. Okay, so moving on. Heather hosts a party. It's like a double party. So for one, her newest location, 1 year anniversary, and she had 5 employees that were all pregnant with boys. So the boys are one. So she's kind of throwing a party for both. So some of the other ladies come to the party. Whitney shows up, Jen shows up, Angie shows up. So Whitney is telling them about the dinner she had with Lisa, and how, Lisa is trying to set the whole thing up. She caught her as it was happening. So as Lisa was trying to put on this performance, like, oh no, I had nothing to do with canceling the catering for Angie's party, like that didn't fall on me. And then the other girl's like, yeah, Angie is lying. Just trying to get on Whitney's good side. So Whitney is like, nope, I see what's going on. I see what you're trying to do, but it's not going to work. So she's telling the ladies about this. And Jen is like, uh-huh. And then in her confessional, she's like, what? Lisa would never do anything like that. That's not even her style. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, shut up, Jen. Because you're a liar, too. So, of course, you would say that Lisa wouldn't do anything like that. Because you would do something the same. You lie all the time. You do stuff. You throw rocks and hide your hands all the time. Just like Lisa. I mean, the whole thing doesn't even really make sense to me as to why Lisa is cutting Angie off anyway. I don't know if she is upset because she didn't cover for her. But then in the same instance, Lisa's still trying to be friends with Whitney, who is just like, I see right through you. The whole thing is confusing because Angie still is just like trying to do anything so that her and Lisa can get back to where they were because they've been friends since childhood. I don't know. Lisa is messy and she tries to pretend that she's not, but she is. So the ladies are gathering for the trip. They have a Hummer limo. I don't know. It's just funny when I see limos, right? Because they're not as popular anymore. And usually people just like take a black car or will take a Sprinter, but like a limo. Okay. So anyway, the ladies gather. They're on their way to do the snow tubing, and Lisa's like, "Oh, Whitney invited Angie. It's kind of annoying. Um, when we used to be friends, but when somebody accuses you of something you didn't do, like basically for her, like that's it. She cutting them off. But I'm just like, if I was friends with somebody for a long time and they accused me of something I said I didn't do, I don't know if I would jump to cutting them off. I don't know. It just seems like you're guilty, and you're mad because you got found out. Like I said, she is the type of person to throw rocks and hide her hands, and she couldn't hide, and that made her upset. So that's really why you want to cut her off, like a childhood friend, really. And so they're in the limo. Whitney called it the party bus, I guess. And they're passing around alcohol, champagne, whatever. So somebody said something about champagne hardening your ovaries or whatever. And they did a flashback to Mary in a restaurant with Heather where she said she doesn't do sparkling water because it'll harden your ovaries. So Lisa's like, is that really true? And Mary's like, everything that I say is true. She's like, okay, I'm gonna Google it, or I should Google it, or something like that. And Mary's like, what? Are you trying to diss me? Now, I will say it came out of nowhere. I don't know. To me, it didn't seem like Lisa was trying to be shady, but that's the way Mary took it. So, they kind of had a back and forth. She started going off. She was like, I don't deal with stuff like that. You're not going to try to play me. And Lisa was like, deal with what? She was like, you. Mary's crazy. But you know what? I don't care. Lisa deserves whatever comes to her. So they finally show up and to the place where they're gonna tube. And Lisa goes to, just kind of cool things over with Mary, like, what's up? What's going on? Like, what was that? And Mary's just like, I don't like when you talk to me like that. It's demeaning. It's like I'm lower than you. And then you're talking about you're going to Google something. And she basically was just like, do you not believe what I'm saying because I'm black? And when they initially had the argument, I kind of was thinking that that's what how Mary was feeling. That's was like, I'm not gonna fight her on that. Because I do think like sometimes the way that Lisa talks is condescending. But in that moment, it didn't feel like that. But again, I'm not Mary. I wasn't there, so I'm not gonna say what it was. So Mary's like, I don't know, something, something. I thought we were friends, and Lisa's like, I thought we were friends too. Like, are we friends? And Mary's like, yeah. So she's like, okay. And then when they go to walk away, Mary tells Lisa that she's too sensitive and she needs to tighten up because as soon as Mary told her, I feel like you don't believe me because I'm black, Lisa is just like, are you kidding me? Like, no. And Mary proceeds to tell her that she's too sensitive. Um, Mary, the same thing could be said about you, because now you doing too much. I don't know if this is your moment, but you kind of are doing a lot right now. So after as the little back and forth continues with Mary and Lisa, Jenny decides she wants to jump in and is like, "Shut the f up! Like we're not doing this today. Blah blah blah. This is not a good day for me. Whatever, right?" So Mary's like, "Don't use that word with me." And she's like, is she serious right now? She's like, yes, if you don't, this is the way I talk. If you don't like the way I talk, then you don't have to listen. First of all, I'm like, who is Jenny getting bold with? It couldn't be me, honey, because first of all, this conversation ain't had nothing to do with you. If you didn't want to hear it, then you could have walked away. And then you like, oh, if you don't like what I say, you don't have to listen. So then shut the hell up so that nobody has to listen to you. But this ain't have nothing to do with you. You talking about something. Everything I've been going through with my husband. I want to relax. What's going on in your household don't got nothing to do with the rest of the ladies. You should have minded your business. You was wrong in that instance. Yeah, but Jenny was on 1,000. So they had to walk up this hill to go get the tubes or whatever, and I'm trying to figure out why Mary thought it was a good idea to wear those heel boots. Like, you're walking around in snow, you're gonna be doing activities. Why was that a good idea in your head? So after there's no tubing activities, the ladies go to lunch and they're asking like Mary and Lisa, "Are you guys good?" And Mary's like, "Are you good?" To Lisa, like, "I'm good." And Mary's like, "Yeah, I just was a little taken aback. Like, I don't want you guys to assume the worst of me." So I'm looking with a side eye because I'm like, Angie is sitting right there, but okay. So she was like, "All right, it's done." So we segue because Angie's like, this is the perfect time to bring it up. So she's like, I've reached out to you and I've tried to reach out to you. Um, there has been no response. And so Angie's like, she would like to address the situation so that they can move forward. She's like, I know our relationship probably will never be the same, but I want to move past this. And Lisa's like, well, unless you're saying sorry, I don't think that there's anything else to say. So after she said there was nothing else to say, she had a lot to say. Lisa says that she doesn't feel like a friend of 20 years would accuse you of something that she's claiming she did not do. She's done because of that. Angie's like, well, Lisa, can you see it from my point of view? Which makes sense. Somebody called Angie and told her that Lisa's assistant called the caterers that are friends of Lisa to cancel on Angie's event. Angie feels like it was intentionally done because Angie became friends with Whitney, who Lisa was not cool with at the time. So, just like you say, a friend of 20 years wouldn't accuse you of something, a friend of 20 years wouldn't just cut somebody off either. She's getting all mad and heightened. All these people are on my back. And Whitney is just like, well, she didn't do anything to you. She's just asking you. She's like, well, I feel like she did something to me. Nothing was done to you, Lisa. You just look and sound guilty because you're getting so angry about a simple question. If you didn't do it, you didn't do it. But you did. Because why would somebody just randomly say Lisa's assistant called? And why would your assistant randomly call? You had to give them that direction. And just the whole thing around it does sound suspicious. But instead of you going to do the back work, you're trying to cover your tracks, which makes me believe that you're guilty. So Lisa starts going on and on about how her grandfather was gay, so it hurts her to be accused of making someone else pull out of an event that would be important to her or for a community that she supports. She starts doing waterwork. She's crying. Angie goes over to hug her. So hopefully that means that they can move forward. But honestly, I don't believe Lisa. You doing all of this extra. Like, there's no reason for you to be crying. What you crying for? What are you crying for? So, I guess they made up. And Jenny then goes, okay, so Mary, are we good? Mary says, sure. Then Jenny is just like, Heather's like, oh, so what makes you guys get into it? First of all, you and Jim was over there snickering and giggling because y'all thought it was just so funny that they was going back and forth. One, so stop trying to act like you care. Two, um, there was nothing. There was nothing that made them start going off. Jenny don't know how to mind her business. Now she want to make it about her and how she doesn't like anybody telling her what she can and cannot do. You're not her mother. Growing up Asian, she was picked on. Like, is this the victim Olympics at this point? What what does that have to do with what happened? You didn't mind your business. Period, point blank. If somebody don't want you to talk to them a certain type of way, they could tell you, don't talk to me like that. You started cussing at Mary for no reason. She wasn't even talking to you. So Jenny goes into how it's her daughter's death anniversary and she felt attacked and triggered, which is like, the thing you went through with your daughter is absolutely horrible. It's sad. But nobody attacked you. You started talking crazy at Mary for no reason. It wasn't warranted. Even if you were annoyed by the back and forth between her and Lisa, it had nothing to do with you. So don't try to make it about you and make yourself the victim. But Mary is just really not responding. She's talking under her breath. She's like, good for you. And I'm like, they're probably not going to be good, but it is what it is. So that's how the episode ends. You guys let me know down in the comments what you thought about this episode, and I will speak to you next time.